DNVR Broncos live, coming to you from Studio A here at the DNVR bar. And the A stands for, are we going to be looking for a new GM? The Titans are.
They are.
The 7-5 first place in the AFC South Tennessee Titans.
Also, playoffs 6 years in a row?
Yeah.
Let me tell you, Titans, the grass ain't always greener.
That is very true.
Oh, my God. That is a crazy move.
Yes.
Kind of leads me to believe there's something else.
Yes.
You know, a owner-GM dispute.
I mean, gotta be, right?
There has to be.
Like, you don't get fired for getting your doors blown off by the Eagles.
No. And when they were talking about when the owners released their statement, they didn't point to any off-field moves or any disputes. They just said, you know, we evaluate the win-loss record and also like the transactions that have been made. So maybe they were big fans of A.J. Brown. I don't know. Maybe they're not fans of Ryan Tannehill.
I guess that could be a thing. Also, we're presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Head over to DraftKings Sportsbook and get in on all of their fantastic deals by using the code DNVR. It could be an A.J. Brown thing. Like a straw that broke the camel's back situation. Where,
Right.
what did A.J. Brown do in that game? Did he go off?
Oh, I know
because they were playing him.
I know he and Devontae Smith combined for 3 touchdowns. So he either had two or one.
Yeah. It's math, baby.
Oh, nice. Man, I didn't put that together, how they just played him.
True.
Right. Like, if they got torched by A.J. Brown, I want to see the stats. Maybe that was just like, all right, you're an idiot. We're done.
I mean, could you imagine, though? He's like, wait, for making that trade, not for being first place in the entire AFC last year, the number 1 seed, when they didn't have Derrick Henry for half the season.
And he did it 7 months later.
All right.
Like, if you don't like the trade,
Yes, right,
what's different now?
Do you want to hear the A.J. Brown line?
Oh, geez, is it bad?
8 catches, 119 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, that's pretty
a
good.
good game.
He
That's
torched them.
pretty good.
He beat them single-handedly because they only scored 10 points.
Wow.
That would have been the best Broncos receiver performance in multiple years?
Probably since, I don't know about the 2 touchdowns. What was it? Cortland Sutton, week 3 against Jacksonville last year, had like 150-something yards.
Okay.
I don't know. I think he had 1 touchdown.
If
but
he had
maybe not
1
2.
touchdown with 153, I think that's even.
No, we got to go by fantasy points.
Oh.
Well, are we doing PPR?
How many catches?
I think
PPR.
Cortland had like 10 catches. I think that was also a career
There
high.
you go. So I bet Cortland probably got him.
10, 25. So that would be 31-ish.
There you go, yeah.
Then we've got 8 plus, that's 20. No, this wins. 32.
Wow. You want to know something?
It would be pretty tight.
You want to know something that's crazy? Is in that single game where he had 2 touchdowns in the past, this isn't exactly scientific, but in the past 18 games or so, Cortland Sutton has 1 touchdown catch. Why?
What are they?
That's not
what do
good.
they do?
I don't know. It's crazy. Now, the good news is we did find out a little news. Good news about Cortland Sutton. He's day-to-day with the hamstring.
Nice.
So he should be back soonish. Now, we've heard some guys are day-to-day and they're out like 3 weeks. So it doesn't necessarily mean he's back this week, but it's not like a terrible season-ending injury. But I like that we're kind of talking about Cortland Sutton right now because what if that was the move, the A.J. Brown move that got, John Robinson fired today? George Paton gave out a fat contract to Cortland Sutton, and since that contract, since that contract has been given out, Cortland Sutton has 1 touchdown.
Yeah. Cortland Houdini Sutton has 1 touchdown.
One touchdown.
And several games with under 30 yards receiving.
Oh, so many, yep.
That should not be, that's not normal.
No, including this past game where, yes, he missed the second half. In the first half, he played, he got injured 2 minutes left in the first half, so he still played 28 minutes in the first half, 0 catches, 1 target.
What is happening? If
It's
I was
wild.
George Paton, I would have a meeting a la Office Space where I sit everyone down and say, what exactly would you say you do here?
Yep.
And like Cortland Sutton, he would say, well, my job is to catch passes. And he would say, well, do you do that? And he would have to say, no, I do not.
Yeah, like half the games he doesn't do that much.
It's insane. Russell Wilson, what's your job? Well, I throw touchdown passes. No, you don't.
No. He
Oh, I get in the red zone. No, you don't. No. I move the ball. No, you don't.
right. No, you don't do any of it. And I just cannot believe. I thought a couple of weeks ago that meme about more bathrooms than touchdown passes on the season was going to die off, because I thought all he had to do was get one touchdown in per game for the next 3 weeks, and that wouldn't be true. It's true right now. I believe he's on pace for 11 for the season. 12 bathrooms. I just cannot. I just kept thinking like, oh, you guys enjoy this for a couple more weeks, clowning on Russ. But it'll go away. It's not.
Mm-hmm. It's not going away. What's crazy is like they're showing the Tom Brady highlights now. This could have been Russ.
Yep.
Where you just suck all game long and then you pull it off at the end. Like that's kind of what we expected even in his worst games.
Exactly.
And we saw it a little bit at the beginning of the season. We're like, I kept saying like this is the Russell Wilson experience, and it's just gone completely off the rails from there. To whereas they're not even sniffing the end zone anymore.
No, exactly. And I mean, after the game, Tom Brady, after just MF in the sideline all game, he gets up there and jokes at the podium, goes, well, just how we planned it and just how we had it drawn out. And instead, we're getting Russell Wilson coming onto the podium just saying, let's ride, as he's like walking off. And it's just so sad.
It is.
It is really sad. So George Paton.
Yep.
Speaking of Russell Wilson, speaking of Courtland Sutton, speaking of Nathaniel Hackett, all of these people were brought here by George Paton.
Yep.
And, well, not brought here, I guess, with Courtland Sutton, but extended.
Yep. Kept here.
Yep. Kept here with Courtland Sutton. So is he actually on the hot seat? Meaning, are they having conversations behind closed doors as to whether or not they should fire George Paton?
Absolutely. He has to be on the hot seat, and we can discuss should he actually be fired, and we will in this podcast, but he absolutely should be on the hot seat, because this is a team that is staring at 3-10 in 6 days from now. They'll be 3-10, very likely. This is a team that, since George Paton has taken over, has only gotten worse. And now, for the most part, this is George Paton's team. Sure, there's a Jerry Jeudy holdover from the John Elway days, but for the most part, George Paton has put his stamp on this team, and since he's done that, they have only gotten worse, and the trajectory is certainly not heading in the right direction. So if Nathaniel Hackett is going to be on the hot seat, how can you not look at George Paton?
Yep. I mean, everybody should be on the hot seat.
Yeah.
Everybody everywhere should be on the hot seat. Like even Russell Wilson. We've talked about how it's almost impossible to move on from Russell Wilson.
The conversation should still be happening.
Yeah, if they haven't had the conversation of what would it look like if we did that, and is it worth it? And the answer is probably no. Like every single one of those conversations should be happening, whether it's Russell, whether it's George Paton, whether it's Hackett, whether it's any of the coaches, whether it's any of the receivers or defensive guys. Like literally everybody should be on the hot seat based on this season.
Anyone that has a part in the football side of this organization should be on the hot seat.
Yep.
I agree. And I don't know if they'll eventually pull the trigger, but you just don't get to make that bad of moves at that price tag with someone else's money who happens to be your boss
right,
and not be on the hot seat.
Yeah.
It's like if I went out and bought the most expensive microphones in the world for this show.
Wow.
Each microphone was $1 million. And I basically mortgaged the future of our company on these microphones that I said, this is what is going to make our shows pop.
And the company your boss says, I trust you.
Yes. And the microphones don't even work.
Yeah.
They can't even be plugged in.
Well, can you return them?
No.
Oh, geez.
There is a no return policy. Not yet. And I also had to fire 3 employees because we couldn't afford the microphones without cutting their salaries.
But it was your decision.
But it was my decision.
They weren't everybody's favorite employees, to be fair.
They weren't.
They were not the most popular employees.
Wait, is this a real situation?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay.
And so now the microphones don't even work. We can't even have shows.
Oh, jeez.
Wow.
I'm probably getting fired.
Yeah, I would think that you are
Sounds
getting
like you
fired.
would, yeah.
And so when we talk about George Paton, the moves he's made, you obviously look at the big 3. And in my mind, that's hiring Nathaniel Hackett, that is trading for Russell Wilson, and then that is extending Russell Wilson. We don't need to talk about how those moves have gone. That is an 0 for 3 complete strikeout. as of now. And we're going to talk about a lot of moves that George Paton's made, and a lot of them, especially the draft picks, people are going to say, well, it's too early to grade. No, you have to grade them as they are right now, because you're not just going to give George Paton 5 blind years and say, we'll evaluate your 2021 draft class in 5 years. No. And so it's not the most fair, but it's what you have to do when you're running an organization like this. So, so right now, those 3 moves, all complete strikeouts. But then his other moves aren't that good either right now.
Oh, like what?
Well, let's look at the draft classes that George Paton has had. And I went through and gave a very, very unscientific, good, bad, or like undecided for George Paton's draft classes. And I went back and I did it for all of John Elway's draft classes as well. And I got to say, I was stunned. And again, maybe I was too lenient for John, a little too hard. But for the most part, these numbers are pretty insane. For the George Paton draft classes, I have 19 total picks. I have 6 good picks, 3 debatable picks, and 10 bad picks. That's a 37.5 hit percentage in the draft. For John Elway's drafts, he had 29 good picks, 48 bad picks, and 3 undecided. That's a 37.6% hit rate. So I think we all, and I fall victim. This is what it's like. Oh, George does great in the draft. John does terrible. According to, again, very unscientific, but maybe you guys would give more to George, but still, it's not like he's hitting 60% where you're like, whoa, this guy doesn't miss. And so let's just look at George Paton's drafts. How was the Pat Surtain pick?
Very good.
I actually went scientific with it.
Oh, I like it.
So I just used the Pro Football Reference.
You guys both do this as a side project without talking to each other about
No, this is the project. This is the podcast. George Paton Day.
Okay, fair enough.
That's the project.
I didn't know there was we were going for scientific dissection of
only one of us
draft
did.
class.
So I think this was like 9 days ago. I was like, we've got to talk about George Paton because I just kept seeing so many people just like blindly defending him. And I told you guys, like, it's making me like push against him.
Yep.
Right.
And so I want to make sure that I'm not just doing that. But so I've been ready for this conversation.
All right,
Yep.
great.
So what I did, I just used the Pro Football Reference AV, which is like the approximate value, not estimate. That's an E.
Okay.
But I just took the 5 players drafted right before, 5 players drafted right after, and got the ranking out of those 11, including him. So for Surtain,
So for Pat Surtain, you're taking the top 5 picks, 5
right
to
in front of
15.
him.
Okay.
Right?
4
Ish.
to
Okay.
And averaging them out or something?
Averaging
just
out
seeing
the
where he
approximate
ranks.
value.
Gotcha. Okay.
So he's tied for 6th through 8th.
So essentially,
Out of
right
10.
where he should be.
Is average. Yep. So average would
okay,
be
gotcha,
6
gotcha,
exactly
gotcha.
out of 11 because
I
you count
see.
him too.
Yep.
So, I mean, and that's because you have Justin Fields there. You have Micah Parsons is in that range.
Yep.
Like it turns out, as of right now, pretty average pick for that spot, based
Fair
on the
enough.
guys around him.
And
Were
the
there
way,
any busts in that group?
J.C. Horn.
Is he a bust?
I mean, he's the furthest along the bust path,
Okay.
probably.
one pick before Pat Surtain.
Yeah.
Like that's a big miss for the Panthers
Yeah.
right there. That is
Yeah.
tough because that's the same position too.
Yeah, I could be wrong about this, but I kind of remember talking about those two in the leading up to the draft and being very, very much on the Pat Surtain.
I was
side of
also on
things.
Surtain.
Yeah, of course.
Nobody's
I
going
was.
to go check.
Yeah, I could
Yeah.
be very wrong because I want to say maybe J.C. Horn had the higher.
He was like toolsier.
What's my favorite draft stat? RAS.
Yeah, he
Yes,
definitely
yes,
did.
yes.
He did. He was
And
like
that
the
might
tools
have
guy.
that
He
might
was
have
a
gone away
freak of an
a long way
athlete.
from me. But I just remember watching Surtain. You know, anyone that plays at Alabama, you actually see them play, and you're just like, oh, that guy is just always in position.
Yeah, exactly. And you just never really saw him though on the field because he was just never thrown to. Okay, so an average pick.
Yep.
And so for me, and people may not like this at all. I think I put that one in the undecided just because.
Fields was there.
Yeah, there were 2 quarterbacks there, and that is like, but we actually talked about it. That's not hindsight 2020. It's hindsight now because the Broncos got Russ, but now Russ is bad that you look at that. But also, a top 10 pick that you use for a corner isn't like the most difficult thing ever to do. Now, so, and as we kind of talked about all of last year, great player, questionable bad pick. Ryan, you're smiling as you're wearing your CU gear, and on national TV, they just have Deion Sanders going this whole time.
Every show I've been on, when there's ESPN on, they just show Deion Sanders wearing Buffs gear.
And every time you're smiling.
Hey, I'm wearing the same hoodie as Deion Smith in that.
No. Are you about to, did he tell you to leave too?
Yeah.
Jump in the portal?
No, he said they have to jump in the portal because they've been disappointing me.
That's true.
Yes.
That's actually true.
Yes.
Yep. He knows. He knows your emotions.
This is all for you, Ryan.
Thank you, Coach Prime.
All for you.
Anyways, the Pat Surtain pick, I'd like to give it a little more credit.
Yeah.
If I can just block out those 2 bad weeks he had. Because it's like, okay, that's an elite player.
Yeah. Top
that
3
you got
corner
at
in the
number
NFL.
10. Yeah, exactly. So I would personally rank that as a hit.
Yep.
But I understand the hesitation, and we still are in the wait and see mode with Justin Fields. Like, Justin Fields is now trending towards franchise quarterback.
Yes. Now, that's the only one where I think there's really going to be debate. So let's just say that I switch that from undecided to an actual hit. Okay, maybe he's at 40% compared to John Elway's 37.6. Still not that much different.
Yep.
Oh, no, I just deleted all of my notes.
No, you didn't.
Shake your phone. Shake your phone.
There we go. I got it back. Woo!
Wait, really?
It undoes it.
You can undo like deleting something just by shaking your phone?
Wow.
Yeah, you just panic, you shake.
Wow, that's good. Guys, breaking news right now from Adam Schefter.
Big Broncos
this
stuff.
is an Adam Schefter tweet.
Shut up.
Broncos have released veteran safety Anthony Harris.
Oh.
Yeah. Stings for Anthony.
Gonna miss him.
It's because he's a George Paton guy.
Oh, yikes.
I thought you were going to say Kareem Jackson for a second.
Yeah. Well, I was like, Broncos release, and from Schefter, too.
Yeah.
Sorry, Anthony.
Good scoop, Shefty.
Yeah.
You got rap on that one.
I bet Rap doesn't even follow up with that. Okay, do you have the scientific for all the picks?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well,
That whole draft.
let's go through. Javonte, for me, I had as a good pick.
Yep.
But remember, they traded up in the second round for a running back. A lot of people were like, good player, but like a lot of national people were like, great player, but not great value. So I still gave Javonte the good here.
As
but
you absolutely should.
But like, in terms of, it kind of goes back to the Pat Surtain. In terms of like value, it's not the hardest pick.
Right now, well, up until he got hurt, I would say good pick.
Okay.
But in the end, picks have to be on a 4-year scale, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I would put it in the we'll see, because we have no idea how he's going to come back. And if he comes back and he can't go, and he's not the guy anymore, then it's going to end up being a bad pick. And you can say, well, it's just bad luck. No, this is why you don't trade up for running backs, because they just get hurt.
Yeah, it's a good point. So now, if you did that, you're back with me. He's exactly a John Elway drafter.
Yep.
Henry, what's the science say?
He's 2 of 11.
Okay.
Greg Russo's in front of him.
Okay.
Nice.
So a good pick.
Good pick.
There.
But again, like, they'll keep tailing off for the rest of the season.
That's
Right,
true.
right.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody was too close.
Quinn Meinertz, a third-round guard who's a starter. Right now, I said good pick. I'm just going to go back to this, though. Using a third-round pick on a guard, that's probably about where you should be. So it's not like it's a steal of the draft.
The
but
thing
a good
is,
pick.
half of draft picks wind up missing. So if you hit, that's a plus. He's number 2 of 11 also. Spencer Brown is in front of him. So that's back-to-back Bills beat him, which is interesting.
That is interesting. Let's see if it happens again.
It's actually kind of impressive to be up there with them, because it's like anyone who goes to play for the Bills is going to be a part of a lot of wins, which I assume helps this stat.
Has to factor in somehow.
Yeah. Brandon Bean, I'm sorry, I was thinking of the Bills GM. Baron Browning, good pick. I mean, a great pick.
Yep, tied for second and third.
Okay, that's a really good pick.
Caden Stearns, right now I said good pick. But
tied for 5th through 8th.
Okay, so we could
average
go
pick.
average, undecided, kind of push that. Jamar Johnson, bad pick.
Tied 5th through 11th.
Wow.
How?
That's crazy.
A whole bunch of busts right there.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, but that's the thing is like
With
what was
zero?
that? 4th round. Yeah. 4th round.
Seth
Yeah,
Williams.
guys who didn't
But
do
I just mean
anything.
he added no value to anything.
This is the crazy
ever.
one.
Zero
No.
value.
Yeah, Seth Williams. I mean, 7th rounder, so not as crazy. Tied 2nd through 11th. But there's a caveat. So this was with
Do they
your
count training camp catches in this?
no, I mean because they're all 0. Like they've all done
okay.
nothing.
Oh, okay.
Because like 7th rounders. But Quincy Roche makes it 3rd through 11th. I was going by like with the team that drafted you. So I think he got cut during camp and then got pulled back somewhere else.
Okay.
So technically third, I guess.
Okay.
Wild. Kerry Vincent Jr.
Yeah. Tied 4th through 11th. Again, 7th round.
Dude did nothing.
But he got
again,
traded, and
okay.
True.
Okay.
I don't think that's counted in this.
No, but they're all
he actually
zeros.
brought value to the Broncos.
Because most 7th rounders do nothing.
Right.
Yep.
But 7th round that did something. Jonathan Cooper, obviously good pick.
Yep. And he's first.
I was gonna say if he's not number one, I'll be
Yeah.
shocked.
He is number 1.
And then Marquise Spencer, bad pick.
6 through 11. So half those guys just bust.
Yep.
Was he king of the game, Jonathan Cooper?
Jonathan Cooper, no. Our king of the game was Justin Simmons. 2 picks.
Oh, yeah,
Jonathan
yeah.
Cooper would have been right up there, though.
Dude, every time he plays, he just makes plays. I can't believe it's crazy thinking back
It
to like
is.
training camp when we were talking like, yeah, he might be on the bubble to get cut.
Yeah.
And even then, we were saying like that's crazy because he's really good.
Yeah, and there was just, I mean, he doesn't even get hype when he's like the
Yeah.
third. He's the backup. He has to be starting and actually playing for them to be like, oh yeah, he's good.
Yeah.
Wow, dude, that guy makes plays.
He does.
It is wild. So
Arguably best pick from George Paton so far.
in terms of value,
7th rounder. And you got like a marginal starter, good backup.
They almost cut him because of Nick Bonito.
It's
Wild.
it's so true. And let's talk about that pick. Massive swing and a miss as of now, but we have to grade as we see now. Nick Bonito, the first pick in the draft for the Broncos, a 2nd round pick should be a starter on your team. Nick Bonito, despite you losing your top 3 guys at his position, he has still done nothing this year. And in fact, you didn't have your top 2 guys this past week, and he was still the backup. So essentially, Nick Bonito right now is the 5th string, or I guess you could say 3rd string behind 4 other guys. He played 1 snap this past week.
Yep. It is worth noting the guys drafted after him. Luke Fortner, don't know anything about him. Brian Asamoah has 2 tackles this year as an outside linebacker. Joshua Ezeudu, again, I don't know anything. Martin Emerson, Nicholas Petit-Frere. So those are the 5 right there.
But
Again, it's a bad pick. It's a bad pick. But there's a bunch of other bad picks right there.
But I mean, at this point, you would have been way better off just drafting Greg Dulcich, so you wouldn't have had to sweat it.
True.
Yeah, I will say
Abe Lucas was 8 picks later. That would have been a great one.
Right.
I will say as of this last week, that is probably the worst matchup in the NFL for the current version of Nick Bonito. Because it requires all this discipline and
True.
you know where your eyes are, Matt.
True.
Like when they're playing the Colts, you know, against Matt Ryan, it's like, yeah, put Bonito out there, let him speed rush on 3rd downs. Like that doesn't make sense. Yes, this Sunday.
Yep.
No, that's very true, but it's not like he's done anything else.
Nope, he hasn't.
This season. Greg Dulcich, obviously, great pick
Yep.
Yeah.
right now.
Yep.
Damari Mathis.
What does he rank?
We don't have numbers for those yet.
Okay.
Oh,
Yep.
okay. Damari Mathis, another great pick.
Yes.
Good.
And 4th
Good pick.
Good.
4th rounder, and he's a good starter. A solid starter.
Any up until this past 2 weeks, bad pick. I mean, he hasn't been active for more games than not. Now, again, he could change it, but right now, not a good pick.
Yeah. My experience with him this season has been, he's out there.
Right. Exactly. Yes. 100%.
1 for 2 in the 4th round, though. Great rate.
Yeah.
But now let's continue. Turner Yell, bad. I mean, not active.
As
One
of
pick
now,
up
as
in
of
front
now.
of Tariq Woolen.
Oh, that's brutal.
That's the bad part. That's what's terrible.
That is brutal.
I don't understand how that happens.
Yep.
I was saying I want Woolen at the Nick Bonito spot.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
if that had happened, we'd be saying amazing pick.
Yep. Exactly. We would have been.
How does the entire NFL not see that?
I don't know.
Could you imagine he and Pat Surtain?
Pretty crazy.
Yeah.
They-
that would have been crazy.
They'd, I don't know, give up 10 points to the Ravens or something.
And still find a way to lose. Montrell Washington. Man, I loved it at first, but it's not a good pick right now.
No. Again, Kyle Phillips right after him. I guess he hasn't really done much. Kyron Williams is getting some run. He'd be nice to have right now.
And then these other guys, I mean, it's tough, but for the most part, Luke Wattenberg, bad. Fayon Hicks, bad. And then a bright pick, just like Jonathan Cooper, Matt Henningsen, good pick.
True. Yep.
Had a sack of Justin Herbert? Someone big.
Yes, who was that? Yeah, he had a good sack.
Yeah.
He did.
I think it was Herbert.
It might have been. They all kind of run together.
Yeah, they really do. So that's kind of looking.
I just remember being in like a packed bar. So it had to be early
was
in
in
the
Oh
Frozen.
man, had to be very early. Well, no, we had some good turnout for most of the season until they really really, really fell off.
Yep.
I mean, the Broncos really fell off. So that's kind of looking at the draft classes. And let's dive into other moves that George Paton has made, because I'll argue that those have been even more disappointing, because the draft's not terrible.
Draft's been good, I think. I mean, running
I
through...
think it hasn't been as great, though.
2021 was awesome. I don't think you can argue that one. Again, like, there were some misses in the late rounds, but like Surtain, Javonte, Quinn, Barron, even Caden to start the draft. Then you have Jamar Johnson.
I guess it's just, in order to say great, it's how you view those first two picks. Do you view them as like, okay,
True. Javonte got hurt.
Javonte, but also like Pat. He's a corner. Pretty much everyone's top pick on the board. You also had Micah Parsons there. Pat Surtain has been great. Micah Parsons has been in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation as a rookie, and he's probably going to win it this year.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do that for every pick and say, like, you could have got this guy. But Micah Parsons, it's not like he went a round later. He went 2 picks later.
There was also
it's a good, solid pick.
Legitimate character concerns about Micah Parsons.
True.
Yep, it's very true. It's very true. And before we go any further, I got to tell you about our friends over at Breckenridge Brewery, where it is Christmas ale season.
Let's go.
And anytime you go to a friend's house, a party in these next couple weeks, stop by the liquor store, get yourself a Christmas ale mini keg. Those things are so much fun. Great thing to bring over. Whether you're watching a football game or just hanging out with friends, bring over a Christmas ale keg.
I don't know how to explain this other than, like, if you're the Christmas ale mini keg guy, you score so many party points.
It's very true.
Yes.
Yep.
Like, everyone's like, oh, yeah, that's the guy who brings Christmas ale mini cakes to the party. Like, yeah, that guy is awesome.
Yeah, you're invited to everything now. And the thing is, like, I can't think of any other brand or anything or any other beer that just has, like, a staple mini keg. When you think of it, it's Breckenridge Brewery. And, of course, if you just want to come by the bar, we got Brecks everywhere here. And if you want to find out where to get that mini keg, go to breckbeer.com, and you can look for their Breck Beer locator.
Yep. Also, get on over to Game Time. I'm headed to the Avs game on Friday. We still call them the Avs, even when they don't have any of their players.
Rudo introed the pregame show last night by saying, welcome into the Colorado Eagles pregame show.
Exactly. I mean, it's not like Nate's gone now, too. Like, they're just down to nothing.
It's tough.
It's more than half of their lineup is gone now.
It sucks because it was already tough to be too invested in, like, the regular season. Because it's just like, well, they won the Stanley Cup. Like, we'll see what happens at the playoffs. And now that, like, I'm turning on the game and seeing players I've never heard of.
Exactly. I was just gonna say, like, maybe we should play a game where I just name a player and you tell me if he's on the Avalanche or not.
Yeah, it's actually insane.
Real person or not. But yeah, Game Time Friday. I have a feeling that the tickets I bought last night might have been cheaper had I waited until Friday, just because there's fewer and fewer Avalanche players they're supposed to play by the day. But it is what it is. Still got an awesome deal. I looked around, I shopped around. Game Time, always the best deals, always the best answer. If you're trying to get to the game, they specialize in, like, same day ticket sales. They drop their prices before. So many great deals for the Avs, for the Nuggets on Saturday, for the Broncos. Get on over to Game Time. Make sure you do that by using the link in our description below this show, and also the link in the description in the podcast as well.
There you go. Boom. Also, just a shout out to us here at DNVR.
Yes.
Lots of great and exciting things happening here. We still have the World Cup games on. We're still open for those. A crazy result this morning as Morocco took down Spain in penalties. Moroccan goalkeeper had crazy saves. Like, that dude is literally a legend forever now, which type of stuff fires me up when that happens in sports. But we've also got the Nuggets takeover going on this weekend. We are blowing up with Buffs coverage. We've got all the Broncos coverage you could ever want on the website. So just check out everything we're doing here. It's impossible for me to explain to people who ask, oh, what does your company do? Because there's just so many things. So check out the merch, all of it, DNVRlocker.com. There's something for everyone.
There is, and George Paton has had a lot of free agent moves, and whether it's re-signing his own guys or going into the free agency pool, he's had a lot. And let's break those moves down. Last year, when he took over, here's the moves he made, and you guys tell me good or bad when I say it. Re-signing Kareem Jackson. Okay.
Yep.
Kyle Fuller.
Wait, we're talking last season?
2021. Yes.
Okay.
That was good.
Yep. Kareem was good last year.
I agree.
This year,
I agree. Kareem good this year. Totally agree about this. Or last year and agree about this year. Kyle Fuller.
Bad.
Didn't work.
Very,
but again, how much did they pay
bad.
him? Do you have the
10
numbers?
million.
Yeah, that's bad.
It was very bad. Justin Simmons re-signed to be at the time the highest paid safety in the NFL.
Has not paid off in the way that you would have wanted, but he did lead safeties and interceptions last year.
Yeah.
He's probably going to be up there this year. He's got
2 helps.
4?
He has.
Yeah.
Yes. No, 3.
So he just had the 2 this week and the 1 against Trevor Lawrence.
Yep. Exactly.
Okay. So I mean, still 3 will
Yeah.
at least get you in the conversation if you get a couple more.
Yeah.
It's a little disappointing. But,
Yeah.
I mean, it's tough not to be a little disappointed when you're the highest paid player at your position.
It's true. I have good but expensive.
Yep.
Yeah, I can't get past the tackling this year.
True.
That's been wild.
Yes.
Really rough.
Yes.
It's very weird. So we agree on that. Ronald Darby last year?
Good.
Good last
hurt
year.
though.
Good
Hurt
luck.
though. Yeah. You have to
Good,
factor in the hurt.
But you do have to factor in the whole contract.
Right. Was he healthy all of last year?
Not the whole year.
Most of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
not the whole year.
Okay.
Shelby Harris.
Give it a C.
Shelby Harris re-signing last year was a good move.
Yep.
And then Mike Boone.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
I agree. So, like,
Doesn't
some
matter.
hits, some misses. I had 3 good, 2
Not
bad,
really any-
1 uncertain.
Yeah. Not really any massive hits though.
No. I mean, the Justin Simmons one was like he was right there in your building.
Yeah.
So I agree. Nothing crazy though. Now this year, I think it's a lot worse for George Paton.
Uh-oh.
Randy Gregory.
Not good so far.
Was really good for a minute and then gone.
It's just tough. I mean,
He shouldn't play the rest of the year, by the way.
Oh, absolutely.
Agreed.
not.
But again, like I would rather have Randy Gregory on his contract than have re-signed Bradley Chubb.
Or what about Chandler Jones?
Exactly.
Or
so
what about Von Miller, who still has like 10
yeah.
sacks this season?
That's
or even
such a
more than
long
that,
contract,
and
though.
Andy's hurt. Randy Gregory, I mean, 5 years. I know you can
But
get
you
out
can
of
get
it
out after 2.
Here's my biggest thing with Randy Gregory, and I can't believe you guys are being this nice about it.
Mm-hmm.
If he was a guy that typically plays all
Yeah.
the time and he just got a freak injury, those things
True.
happen. And I think we're going to talk about some of those coming up. He's a guy that's just injured all the time, and you signed him
Yep.
knowing you were going to get that, and they got that.
And to
They
me,
signed him while he was injured.
That too.
Yep. And to me, with that contract, if he plays half the games, you're getting a good deal on that contract. And he's not going to play half the games
So you're
because
saying
he's getting half the money of a premier pass rusher.
You're saying he's valued at $28 million a year?
Probably more like 24 if he plays every game. Like he would be top rate pass rusher money if he played every game
Henry, he's never had a double-digit sack season.
because he's always hurt and suspended.
I kind of get your point.
Yeah, like I think you're paying half because of that. If he played half, I'd say it's solid, even contract.
So
but
right-
he has not.
So right now, with that logic, I mean, he's had 3 sacks this year?
Yep, it's
and
bad right
3
now.
forced fumbles?
He was so disruptive. Though.
Exactly.
He was, but that's a bad deal.
No, it
Yep.
is.
As of right
Okay,
now, it's
okay,
bad. Yep.
Okay, DJ Jones.
Good.
Even solid. You've gotten what you expected because he's right at 10.
Yep. I would say good, but not like great value. So it paid about the right amount
Yep.
for him.
He's a hard guy to appreciate
True.
everything he does.
Yeah.
Again, like the run defense has been so good for the most part.
Ooh, no, it hasn't.
You don't think so?
The run defense?
Yeah, for the
Over
most
the
part.
past like 6 weeks, it's completely broken down.
I mean, that's when it's been at its worst. But again, I mean, you look at the
We're
Josh
only
Jacobs
through
game,
like 12 weeks.
Definitely.
So we're talking about half the season.
and
being
for
broken
half of the
down.
season, you're giving up like 60 yards a game or whatever.
They've got, 5 more games to break the tie?
They
They
do,
do.
and it's not trending in the right direction. That is for sure. Josie Jewell.
Good.
He's been healthy enough. Very, very good.
Yep, I agree.
love Josie Jewell.
Oh, me too. Yeah, and Alex Singleton, who we can talk about right now.
I love Alex
That's-
Singleton even more than I love
it's a
Josie Jewell.
Really good deal.
A great signing. A great signing, and that's a great signing. Tom Compton.
Really quick, someone DM'd me, said we should call them the Bash Brothers. It's pretty legit.
The Bash Brothers.
Wow.
I don't know. I like what you and Eric came up with on the watch along.
The poster children?
The poster children, because you have the Outlaw and
the headliner.
And the headliner, yes.
The headliner is what I'm calling Alex Singleton
and
forever.
do you want to explain why, Ryan?
Because the Broncos put him on their game day poster and everyone freaked out over it. It was like, wow, Alex Singleton's the most notable player on the team. That was funny in itself. But it got even funnier when then the Broncos self-quote tweeted to then dunk on what they would call not real fans, which are people who don't know that they change up the game day poster every week.
Yeah, people who follow the Twitter account religiously.
Yes.
No.
Take notes on their actions.
Oh
No,
my gosh, too funny. So we like both of those moves.
I want to expound on that a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I think it just shows how bad everything is up there right now.
That's a really good point.
Oh boy.
When you're just too touchy and sensitive.
The fact that the Denver Broncos Twitter account is responding to what's happening in their mentions is a really bad sign of just like everyone is so beaten down and sick of negativity and losing and bad moods. And it's I really thought that was like a microcosm of what's going on.
And I think like you were saying on the watch along, there's so many checks and balances, especially before sending out a tweet like that.
Yep.
For it to be like okayed.
Yeah.
And I mean, didn't they even sign it? Like it was like signed, and then I don't know who they signed it by.
Admin,
the team.
Yeah, signed admin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, tough.
It was bad look.
Tough.
It was a really bad look.
Okay, Tom Compton.
It doesn't matter.
Bad.
Gave him a vetman deal and hasn't done anything.
Billy Turner.
Bad.
Bad, yeah.
Cam Fleming.
Good.
Now put all of the right tackles together.
Bad.
Awful.
Just because you need to invest more. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Well, but they decided to go 3 players at like
That is true.
minimum smaller deals as opposed to actually
$6
trying
million
to
to
go
one.
for one.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Billy Turner was also hurt when they signed him, right?
Yes. Yes.
So they signed 2 guys who were hurt for a lot of money.
Yep.
I won't do the math in my head right now. And
About 20 mil.
guess what? They got 2 guys that were hurt.
Yep. Shocking.
did.
K'Wan Williams.
Very good.
Very good. I agree.
Yeah, he hasn't missed enough time yet to not be very good. He's close to getting knocked down just to good, though.
Has he created a turnover?
Yes, he picked off Trevor Lawrence
He also had
at the end of the game to beat Jackson.
the tip that Caden Stearns picked off.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I think 49ers.
I was going to say
He
that's
has
the
a
one
sack,
thing
I
that's
think.
missing for me, but just because he has the most forced fumbles of any player on the Broncos in his career.
That's
What I was
insane.
looking forward to is the punch outs.
Yep. Especially with the cast this year.
Oh, I know.
That would have been perfect.
Thor's hammer.
Pat Surtain joked about it last week. He said, I told him just to keep playing with
Yes.
it, even when he's not hurt, because he's so good with it. Now we can roll through these guys. Calvin Anderson.
Meh. Bring him back to be a backup. He's been a backup.
Well, yeah.
Josh Johnson.
Again.
You brought him in to be your backup, and he lost to Brett Rippon.
That's fair. Yep.
Yeah, sure.
Eric Tomlinson.
That's my guy.
It's not.
But again, like Vetman, he's done what you expect of him.
He hasn't been a good blocker.
He hasn't been great. Like he's
you
out of
brought him in to
rotation.
be a great blocking tight end, and he hasn't been good. I would call that one
But
bad.
again, like a great blocking tight end is Mercedes Lewis, who's going to make $6 million, $5 million, whatever he's making. You know,
Mercedes Lewis has some ability to catch the ball. When the Broncos signed him, he had 1 catch last season. We were expecting 0 from that department.
I guess my thought on this is if you're going to do that, you could also just put a tackle out there.
true.
That's
Like
true.
you could use Calvin Anderson in that same position.
Right.
Mercedes Lewis has 3 catches for 20 yards this year.
Yeah, he's like 80.
Hasn't he done more in the past, though?
Yeah, he was
Yeah,
at
yeah.
214 last year.
20 years
107.
ago when he was in his 20s.
What's he making this year?
Oh, let me check. But 20 this year, not million, but yards. 214 year before, 107, 156, 39. Mercedes Lewis salary.
J.R. Reed. I mean, we're talking about
Mercedes,
guys that don't matter that much. But they paid J.R. Reed $1 million. Didn't do anything. And then these 2 guys. Or do you want to talk about Mercedes?
I just wanted to say he played with Maurice Jones-Drew at UCLA.
That's insane.
Yeah, it is crazy.
He's 38.
It's Carl Durrell. He recruited
Yes,
him.
yes.
Oh my gosh, that's insane.
2 years, $6 million.
So 3.
3.
Yeah.
I would rather have him for 3 than Tomlinson for 1.5 or
1.5.
whatever. Though.
Right.
1, whatever
right,
it is.
right. Yeah. Okay, now these last 2. Kareem Jackson.
Bad.
Yeah, I agree for this year.
Yeah. But mostly because you should have gone elsewhere.
Right.
Like in terms of the value, you got like a marginal safety for low price.
I'm about to say who the last one is, but I was going to say it's kind of like a Melvin Gordon-esque thing. It's like you just settled because it was something you knew and they were available.
Yeah, and that's the last one is Melvin Gordon. And that's something that I don't know if we or anyone has talked about enough when talking about George Paton moves. He brought him back. Last year, that was a John Elway move, not George Paton's fault. But George Paton saw it for an entire year. And then, while Nathaniel Hackett didn't, and then George Paton said, we're going to bring you back. And we talk about how much Melvin Gordon has cost the Broncos this year.
Totally.
He cost them 2 games last year.
Yeah.
George Paton said, I'm sure it'll get better.
Yeah.
He cost them 3 games this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
exactly.
The flip side, though, is that for a backup running back, if you can get somebody cheap who was 11th in the NFL in rushing yards last year, it's tough to pass that up, especially when you think Javonte this time of year is going to be turning things up.
Yes, but I'll just say when they re-signed him, what I said was the stakes are so much higher this year that the fumbles are going to hurt even more. And I would have just expected them to at least have that conversation.
He's 11th. Only 3 of the guys in front of him fumbled more last year.
You take away those 3 games, they are 6-7, right?
Yep.
6-6.
If they win.
If they win all 3 of those games.
If they win.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, that was bad.
And then they're right there because, excuse me, the Chargers 6-6 right now.
Crazy.
Yeah. Chargers have come back to earth.
Yeah, well, then
they really never took off.
Yeah, exactly. They're just the Chargers.
To be fair. So George Paton's tenure, obviously, in terms of the moves he's made, have not been drastically awful. There's obviously good moves he has made, but it also hasn't been as perfect. And he really got a pass the first year, especially it was like, let's wait and see what happens. And then the 3 biggest moves he's made have all been massive disappointments, coupled with some misses in other areas. So I just don't know how you look at this and just say he shouldn't be on the hot seat. And we all agree that he absolutely should be on the hot seat. And I think more people are coming around to that. But to me, where I stand, should he be fired? If you're going to fire Nathaniel Hackett, you should probably move on from George Paton as well.
And you think you can do better
than George Paton?
Yeah.
What are we talking about? 3-10, and he's
3-10, yeah,
swung and missed on the 3 biggest moves he's made.
True. I still call those 2, not 3, but yeah,
they're 3 different moves.
Russell Wilson's all 1 though. They're always going to do that when that's just a part of the same thing.
Well, Russell set a deadline and it was brilliant by his camp and Mark Rodgers. They set a deadline of I think it was August 31st, August 30th, and said you better get a deal done by here, or we're not talking throughout the season.
But George Paton, it was going to happen. They were going to extend.
I wish there was like a fax machine issue or something.
Oh man,
wouldn't that?
We even heard George Paton called him at 11:45 p.m. to tell him that a deal was done.
Even just to push back on Cortland Sutton, like, not a good deal. Again, he's the 26th highest paid receiver, 25th in receiving yards, 31st in catches. It's not what you expected. He's also, I think, first in drops, and the touchdowns are an issue. But it's not like that's like a straight F horrible. He just hasn't lived up to it, you know?
If you haven't lived up to it, it's not a good deal, though.
No, it's not a good deal. But again, it's not just like good, bad, black and white.
No, yeah, certainly. Yeah. It hasn't been awful, but not a good deal when he signed him.
Yep.
Not a good deal.
No.
I guess John Robinson's available.
He is available. And since he took over in 2016, I believe the Titans have like an amazing record. I can pull that up, but now there's someone on the market.
Yeah, because my whole thing is don't fire someone unless you have a plan for who's better to replace them. And you can certainly make the case that now exists.
It does.
In an obvious fashion, right? Because there's always, you can take a swing. But I don't know. I'll be interested to see what happens. I don't think they're going to fire George Paton.
Do they keep Nathaniel Hackett?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. Really quick, the Titans have had a winning record every single year that John Robinson's been there.
Well, so you look at the draft class. Treylon Burks, not good. Roger McCreary, haven't paid attention. Nicholas Petit-Frere, I actually don't know about him either. Malik Willis? Malik Willis?
This is bad analysis.
But from there, Hassan Haskins on the field. Chigoziem Okonkwo, don't know who that is. He's not playing. Kyle Phillips, he was good in camp, has 8 catches this season. Theo Jackson, Chance Campbell. Like, there's potentially 2 in there, and that's just because I haven't followed along to see if they're as good as we thought.
Okay, then let's look at the big moves that he's made as general manager. He came in with Marcus Mariota as the number 2 overall pick. He was kind of stuck with him, and he still was able to have a winning season for a year or 2 when he had him. And then even coupled with a tough situation with the quarterback, they were able to go out and get Ryan Tannehill.
Which I think is bad.
Oh, the way Ryan Tannehill
You don't think so?
It's been a successful move.
Yes,
really?
It has, yeah.
You think that they don't regret doing that? You don't think they wish they would have drafted somebody instead?
No,
like their ceiling is not that good.
Because they were in like the 20s, mid-20 picks.
This is the classic debate with quarterbacks. It's like, if you didn't win a Super Bowl, was it a good move?
Right. But it's one thing if you get Aaron Rodgers and don't win a Super Bowl. We get Ryan Tannehill and don't win a Super Bowl.
But you got Ryan Tannehill and he took you from bad to good.
Exactly.
Did he do that, or was he along for the ride?
Well, so let's talk about
They had the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he replaced them and made them a lot better.
While still having that number, that guy on your roster, and didn't like break the bank to do it. I mean, $20 million is a lot, but what wasn't the insane? But then let's look at the other. So I consider what he did at quarterback a success for the circumstances he was in, and let's look at the circumstance the Broncos are in. You're going to come in here and you're going to be tied to a quarterback for a year or 2. So if anyone knows how to deal with that situation, it could be him. And then let's look at the other move he made. He went with 2 years with Malarkey as the head coach.
He wasn't that bad.
Yeah, I mean 9-7. He fired him and hired Mike Vrabel.
Yeah,
how about that hire?
It's a banger.
Yeah, that is good.
And that was kind of one where
there are like NFL people who believe Mike Vrabel is a top 3 football coach.
To me, it's hard to argue.
Yeah.
Again, the past 2 seasons, not including this year, 11-5, 12-5, and one of those years he didn't have Derrick Henry, and he didn't have a top-tier quarterback either. I mean, just incredible coaching. So, so you look at this guy, and I mean, just where are your standards at? And to me, the Broncos ownership is not tied to George Paton in any way. And I would have been thrilled being the Broncos ownership coming into this situation with George Paton, Russell Wilson. I would have been so thrilled. But now it's not working at all. And we talked about this last week. If you fire Nathaniel Hackett and you keep George Paton, you're letting George Paton hire the next coach. But then what happens if you struggle again next year? You're not going to keep George Paton for a 4th year after that. You're going to move on from George Paton. And then what are you going to do? You're in this weird space where you're probably going to hire a new GM, and then are you going to stick him with that coach for it? It's just such a weird space to be. That's why I say, if you're going to stick with George Paton, stick with the second biggest move that he made as well, because you're already sticking with the first biggest move.
I think that if they were to fire George Paton, it would be to do the Hank plan. Yeah. Which is burn everything to the ground and starts from scratch. And they're basically saying, like, John Robinson, for example, is coming in to save the day. He has a plan. His plan is trade Russ for whatever. Cut half the team, save all this money, tank next year, and get Caleb Williams. Because at least you can sell, like, you can't say that out loud, but you can tell the people on a vision, hey, we are going to burn this thing down and start from scratch, and this is the guy we want to lead us through that path, rather than just like, hey, we're bringing in a new guy to pick the coach and make the draft picks.
Yeah, yeah. And really good comment coming in from Chris Kellogg, who says, I keep coming back to when the owners were asked what they thought of Paton and Hackett, and they tactically approved, but specifically said that they had to perform. And so far, we haven't seen that.
True.
And they weren't even around for George Paton's good moves.
Right. Yeah, it's true.
So all they've seen is him be bad.
Exactly. So someone in the comment section said I hate George Paton, and I don't. And like I said at the beginning of this, I was probably just going to be more so pushing one side of the argument just to show that there has been bad. If they roll with George Paton, it's not a drastic, it's not like the worst thing ever, because he's a great talent evaluator when it comes to being a scout.
Yeah.
He's a pretty good assistant general manager, not a great one. The Vikings were never like fantastic when he was there, outside of maybe like a year or 2. But for a decade, it's not like they were the powerhouse. But he's a good assistant general manager. Is he a general manager? So far, the track record doesn't say that he's like a fantastic one.
Yeah.
0 for 2 making the playoffs. That's really what you get judged on
Yep.
in the end. In the moves that he made, which looked like they were great moves, turned out to be horrible moves. So I don't know why anyone would say you hate George Paton. I felt like we all just had a very honest conversation about where George Paton stands. And I don't even think you were that more negative than I was.
Good.
So it's the track record is not good. And if they fired him, I would completely understand it.
Yeah.
And it all just comes down to you wasted over $250 million of our money.
It's very true. And then one thing we didn't talk about, you traded for Russell Wilson. You gave up a top 10 pick this year, the number 9 overall pick for it. And next year, as of now, you're giving up the 3rd overall pick.
Yeah.
And that right now is likely either going to be C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young, because you have the Bears at number 2. They're probably sticking with Fields, so they're probably going to take Will Anderson or another top defensive player, and you're missing out on your young, potentially like great quarterback.
Crazy. The
Luckily,
Broncos.
Caleb Williams still better. Then next year's when you want that pick.
That's something we could agree on.
Yep.
By a mile.
That's like doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of this, but it does hurt. You know what I mean? Like you can't be ignored,
Right.
Because it's the Seahawks are going to be sitting there at, let's just like cross our fingers and say 5 on the clock, and it's just going to be like, wow, they're getting that, and we have a bag of used goods.
Yep. It's so true. It's so true. Man, I just never would have thought we were having this conversation in December.
I would not have either. And we'll see what happens. It's going to be an interesting offseason, as they always are.
It certainly is. And you know what's really interesting that I've just started to realize? There's only 31 picks in this first round of the draft this year.
Why?
Miami Dolphins got their pick forfeited. Oh. So on every mock draft, every draft board, there's a place for the Dolphins, and it just says forfeited.
Wow.
It's so bizarre.
Huge dub for the Broncos. I feel bad for the 49ers, but huge dub for them that they're now down to their 3rd-string quarterback. And they probably will still make the playoffs, in my opinion, but they could very likely lose in the first round, which gives you, what, 24?
Yep.
Something in that area?
I think it's like 20 to 23. Wait, how many teams lose in the 6 lose? 6 lose now.
In the first
round. So 20
round.
to 25.
Okay. There you go.
Or no, wouldn't it be 18? Because there's 14 playoffs.
Oh, that's right. I was counting 12.
Yeah. So they could be at 18.
18.
Especially if they lose down the way to the playoffs and they have one of the worst records going into the playoffs, which they very well could. I'm very curious to see what Brock Purdy does, because Kyle Shanahan, if he can kind of build an offense around a quarterback with all the weapons he has.
We're also only about an hour away from Baker Mayfield news.
Yeah.
He does make it easy for them. I mean, Nick Mullins looked great.
It's very true.
We'll see. It's all fun and games until the playoffs.
And it's not going to be pick 30, 31, 32.
Yeah. And
Sorry,
like,
Brock.
I guess they wouldn't have to play the Eagles, but whoever gets this, well, it potentially, like, you're going to end up playing a team of that caliber.
Right.
In the first round, most likely.
Yep, exactly. So, yeah, like you said, it stinks for Jimmy G. It stinks for the 49ers, but that's a reality the Broncos live in, and that's now a good thing for them. I've got some news about the Christmas Day game, but first, I'm going to tell you about our friends over at Denver Health.
Can the Broncos get flexed out of Christmas?
They, man, would that be a gift? Would that be the best Christmas gift?
Honestly, yes.
The Broncos that the nation could be given. Unfortunately, they can't be flexed out of that. But you can go to Denver Health and get some, what?
I'm just curious what the news is going to be.
It's the best tease ever.
It's very interesting news, I got to say. But first, go over to Denver Health, where open enrollment is going on. You can get plans that start from now through January 15th to get in. It's really smart thing to have health insurance, and they have very many different types of health plans that you can get. And they have plan members that have options to receive care at any of their 10 family health centers in the Denver area or at the main hospital outpatient medical center. Center at Denver Health. They also have new virtual mental health options called Elevate Mind. It's available 24/7 at the cost of a normal copay, which is great, and it's a convenient resource for mental health. So check them out. You can visit them at www.denverhealthmedicalplan.org. You can call them today, 303-602-4912. Open enrollment runs from November 1st to January 15th, and if you enroll by December 15th, your coverage begins on January 1st. So make sure to check them out over at denverhealthmedicalplan.org.
And go on out to Infinity Park in Glendale and watch your American Raptors. Really, all of our American Raptors.
Yes, they are our American Raptors.
All of America's Raptors.
America's team.
America's team. That's what they're called. They went down there to, what did we decide? Columbia.
The country.
Yep, Columbia, the country.
Not the city in South Carolina or the city in Missouri.
Wow. I wonder if there's a Columbia.
Or a Columbia, Colorado.
I have no idea. But yeah, so down in Columbia, they played a rugby game a couple months ago. We're still talking about it. Who isn't? It was a classic. But if you go over to AmericanRaptors.com, you can get tickets to all their matches. You can watch their games. You can follow along with DNVR Rugby and see what Colton Strickler is up to covering America's team, the American Raptors, who take athletes from other sports, teach them how to play rugby, and hopefully get them onto the U.S. national team, which trains at the same facilities in Glendale.
And also shout out to our friends over at DraftKings Sportsbook, which we actually do talk about on a daily basis here at the office, on and off air. So many great deals over at DraftKings Sportsbook, including Bet 5 on any money line and get $150 in free bets. Tons and tons of boosts. The best part about the holidays is they always give an extra fun boost during the holidays. You'll get a Christmas boost and you'll get a New Year's boost. There'll be stuff for the college football playoff and all that stuff. So to me, it is the number one way to enhance your viewing experience, especially if you don't care about the outcome of the game. Otherwise, last night, me and Dre sat here on bets. We said, okay, this game is going to be super boring. How can we profit off of that? We put together an SGP that was under in the game, under on Brady passing yards, under on Dalton passing yards, under on the touchdown scored by the Saints, under on the touchdown scored by the Buccaneers, and one fumble to be lost in the game, and it all hit.
No
Wow.
way. Even the Brady yards at the end hit?
Yep.
Oh,
Wow.
heck yes.
It was 304.
Really?
Wow. Yeah.
Oh, my. Against the Saints? Wow.
Yeah.
What were the odds?
Plus 700 or so.
Oh, my gosh. That is absurd.
So
Great hit.
that's always fun to follow. We made a boring game fun by being able to cheer for it to be boring.
Yep.
Wow.
And was that it?
Oh, yeah. Just get over there. Use the code DNVR when you sign up. And, of course, age and eligibility restrictions applies. See show notes for details. And if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700.
Perfect segue because, Ryan, you talk about boring games. And the Broncos are going to have what appears to be a real stinker on Christmas Day when
Again.
the probably 4-10 Broncos play the 4-10.
Whoa, thanks, Zach.
Actually, no. I have them 3-11 at that point. I think they're going to beat the Rams, so then they'll be 4. But 3-11, playing, I believe, the probably 3-11 Rams as well. How do you make that game interesting on Christmas when there may be more of a family crowd watching?
The Nickelodeon
Yes. The Broncos are going to be
Slime time.
slime. Yes, slime time.
Well, they're
shit. Forget
always
prime
slime.
time. The Broncos are in slime time.
You know the country. You should start that. Country's going to pick up on that because that's what that game is going to be.
Let's
Yeah.
go.
So
I don't
Broncos
think there's going to be any slime, though.
Why?
I'm pretty sure they only do that for touchdowns.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a touchdown
They
thing.
probably have time to create a graphics package for interception slime and
Yeah, they
sack
just need to flip it
slime.
around so
Ah.
slime is bad, which it should be, right?
Oh, every punt?
Yeah, like a punt slime.
Oh,
So
yeah.
the
drop pass
punter gets
slime.
slimed every
Exactly.
time?
Slime
Yeah.
coreless.
Are they going to slime just the head coaches every time there's a punt because they're both offensive guys? Hackett gets slimed. McVay gets slimed.
Wow.
Who tweeted this?
CBS announced it.
Okay.
Yep,
CBS.
CBS. It is on CBS.
NFL or something?
NFL on CBS. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. So there's some fun thing that you can look forward to on Christmas.
How many games are the Broncos going to win? Maybe that might be a full podcast.
That is a full podcast. Maybe even tomorrow.
Maybe tomorrow.
Yep.
There we go.
Maybe it will be. But before we get to tomorrow's pod, we got to hit some comments that are left on our website and our show, of course. Let's hit some super chats first. First one coming in from YGO. Brandon says, John always spent years whiffing in the draft. That's what it seems like. And but like I said, I went through all of his, and he had a pretty similar hit rate as George Paton has so far. I'm not going to go through every pick, but I'll just read off some of John Elway's draft classes. I have hit, miss, and undecided. 2011, 5-3-1. 2012, 5-2. 2013, 2-5.
Wait, you had Tebow as a hit, right? He must have been one of the 5 in 2011.
John didn't draft him.
He's the okay. I was gonna say he's the best quarterback the Broncos have ever drafted.
Yeah, that was right before.
Yeah, exactly. 2014, 3-3. 2015, 1-8. Really tough from John.
That is tough.
2016, 5-3. 2017, 1-6-1. Another tough year. Then 3-7, 3-3, 1-8-1. So John had some horrible draft years. We only got one pick right.
Which one was his best? I'm just curious.
I had 5-2 in 2012.
Okay, I'm just curious who was in that one. 2012 Broncos draft.
What?
Oh, just waiting for the thing to load.
Yeah, 2012 draft I had, and also 2011 5-3-1. So both of those are close, but 2012 was 5-2.
Yeah,
Hank's gonna put me on the test here.
No, I'm just saying, like,
it was unfair to John. I like how you just picked a random one.
The best one.
Yeah.
2012, best
I like
one.
It. Yeah, let's see.
Derek Wolfe.
I said good.
Good. Yeah. Brock Osweiler.
Good at football.
Yes. Yeah. Good football.
No, push
player.
it. Brock Osweiler. Also second round.
Yeah. I mean, I said good since he helped.
He did help the Broncos win a championship. It's hard to.
It's not a pick I like,
that,
but it did turn out to be good.
Ronnie Hillman.
Starter.
Bad.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Okay.
Bad. Yeah, I mean, he almost had 2,000 career yards. Just crazy when you think back on Ronnie Hillman. It feels like he had less. Omar Bolden.
Bad.
Nothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, 4th round pick happens. Philip
He was
Blake.
a good special teams player.
Philip Blake, no.
Yeah. Malik Jackson in the 5th. Good.
Great.
Danny Trevathan in the 6th.
Great.
That's the class.
Yeah.
It's a good class.
Yeah. It's not better than 2021.
To be
Which again, you have another
way
pick.
fewer picks.
Yeah, but you take Surtain out. You whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, Broncos also didn't have a 1st round pick in that draft. Just remember.
Why?
And still, it was a really good.
For Tebow, right? Probably.
Oh god.
Is that what it
They
was?
traded up for him.
Man.
Or was that Alfonso Smith?
Oh, could have been that.
No, it doesn't look like it was Alfonso Smith either. That would have been like 2009.
Why didn't they?
No, they
have
traded out. They traded out.
And they traded back for Derek Wolfe. Yep.
Okay, cool. All right. We move on to questions on the website.
Yes, let's do that.
We got the super chat, right?
We did not get this one from Jared, who says
Russell
Wilson versus John Wolford on Christmas Day. What have we done?
Who's
What
better?
happened to Bryce Perkins?
Nobody knows. What kind of question's that? Can't just throw that out there. That's when you have to study for it.
Did he get hurt?
No, I think he's playing. So I think it's Russ versus Bryce Perkins.
What did they do this past week? Obviously
Nobody
lost,
knows.
I assume.
I honestly
played
don't know.
they played the Seahawks, and I believe they had at some point in that game a lead, and then Seahawks came back and won.
Would you take John Wolford or Brett Rippon?
I don't know anything about John Wolford.
Oh, John Wolford did start this last game. He was 14 of 26 with 178 yards and 2 picks.
So a push.
Yeah, I mean, that's about it. What happened to Bryce?
I don't know. Maybe they're just playing musical quarterbacks.
No, that must be it.
They're
Classic Rams.
They
move.
may have a new quarterback this afternoon. I think the Rams will. I think we're going to be looking at Russell Wilson, Baker Mayfield on that game.
Hey, that'd be spicy.
I take Broncos 3-11 or whatever it is.
Oh no, 3-12.
3-12.
Oh no! Oh no! We may have to talk about this.
We
on
might
tomorrow's
need to
podcast.
talk about
How many
this
games
tomorrow.
are the Broncos going to win the rest of the season?
Baker Mayfield only has to lead 1 touchdown drive.
That's just crazy.
He needs a field goal drive too.
He does.
Aaron Donald in the middle going against the Broncos line.
But like Russ used to make magic against Aaron Donald.
He did.
He used to.
He
I
used
mean,
to.
but the thing is, he used to be faster than Aaron Donald.
No, but he used to have receivers that were open once he ran away from him.
Because they were fast. They could run. The Broncos don't have guys who can run.
They have really no
Somebody
team
needs to
speed on
learn to run.
offense.
Yeah,
Jerry Jeudy.
Yep. And right now he's been. I mean, he didn't play this or he played this game, but not the whole game because he was just hampered by the injury still. So wouldn't be surprised if that's kind of the case for the next few weeks. And if that's the case, just sit him. But that's probably a conversation for another day as well.
Yep.
Okay, now let's hop into
Good
the
thing
website.
we have lots of other days.
Yes, we do have many other days. In fact, the days never stop.
Nope.
Which is a good
So
thing.
true.
It's a good
Unlimited
thing.
days.
Yes, unlimited days.
Well, all our days are limited.
Oh,
Yep.
jeez, we're getting. Who was the? Wasn't there a football quote? Oh, it was. Was it Kyle Shanahan?
It's Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah.
Said I'll let you know who the starter is on Friday if we're all here by then. Something like that.
Just brutal. Oh my gosh. Speaking of brutal, Mile High Till I Die. Who knows when that is?
Really quick story.
So true.
When I was a little kid, I didn't want to sleep alone in my own room when I first moved, and so I would just say the most savage things to my mom. She'd be like, "Good night, see you in the morning." I'd be like, "If I'm not kidnapped in the morning."
Oh my god.
Wow.
Did she still leave you then?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
It was the day before draft day when they took Trey Lance, and somebody asked him, "Can you guarantee that Jimmy Garoppolo will be on the 49ers roster on Sunday?" And he said, "I can't guarantee that anybody in the world will be alive Sunday."
Such a good quote.
He might be dead.
Answer.
I'm not going to guarantee it.
Oh my goodness, that is great.
Oh, never mind. I won't even go down that road.
If the Broncos had Kyle
It's just,
Shanahan.
what if something happened to Jimmy Garoppolo?
Right?
Oh my gosh.
All right?
Yes.
That's like a free ticket to murder Jimmy Garoppolo because you will not get accused. You would 100% get away with it.
Oh,
No, he would be the
man.
#1 suspect.
Well, only if you're Kyle Shanahan for the other 330 million of us.
Oh my gosh. Wow. What a rabbit hole we're in.
All right, let's get to the question.
First question, Mile High Till I Die says, "Hey fellas, I agree that we need more help with running backs next year, especially considering the amount of time Javonte might need to get back to 100%. But I think we need to invest more than a 4th-round pick. We should fully invest in a running back, whether that be a top tier free agent or a high-round draft pick. That, and we should redo the offensive line for next season and become an elite rushing team. If Russ is washed and we can't get rid of him, let's drag him to the playoffs on the shoulders of a killer running game and a great defense. Even Baker Mayfield won a playoff game with a top-tier rushing duo."
Everybody hates signing big money running backs.
Yeah.
This is a rare situation where I'm honestly kind of tempted just to say, screw it. Here's $8.5 million a year for 3 years.
Who?
Melvin Gordon.
So that's the thing. See who the best option is. You're
actually
not getting
think- aren't there-
Saquon
aren't
for
there-
that.
Hunt?
It's a crazy class.
Yeah, there's legit talent, but you just have to decide if it's worth
But
it.
the thing is, there's just so many ways it goes well. First of all, they could be good. If not, they could be good for 2 months and then Javonte's back. Or they're good for a year and then they fall off. But at that point, Javonte's starting to get his rhythm again. And if you kind of stagger it so you could, and you probably don't want to pay Javonte afterward anyway for the same reason, but if you could keep it to 2 or 3 years. Wow. This is a list of backs from before the season.
Okay.
The Melvin Gordon was number 3. Things have changed from that list. Saquon Barkley, Kareem Hunt, Rashad Penny, Jamal Williams, Josh Jacobs, Mark Ingram, Donta Foreman.
So you're willing to give 3 years, $30
that's not
million to
great.
Kareem Hunt?
There's other things with
about Josh
Kareem Hunt.
Jacobs?
I wouldn't touch Kareem Hunt.
Okay. Saquon Barkley.
Yes, I would do that for sure. Having only watched the first
man.
half of his season and not knowing what he's done the last month and a half, a little bit scared, but
Yeah, good luck with that because then you've signed another player who's always injured, who is now injured.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Josh Jacobs may be the guy who has the most production and the fewest injuries.
Maybe, yeah.
But here's the thing.
I would
and-
sign him just to get him off the Raiders and
True.
so he can stop hurting us.
Yeah, it's
he
very
would.
true.
They would fit the system really well too.
Wait, he says he plays so well against the Broncos because he always gets up playing against the Broncos. If he's on the Broncos, will he be up every single game
Or
then?
down every single game.
Oh, because he never gets to play the Broncos.
True,
And Pratt, dude,
true.
we'd see the best training camp ever.
Oh, my God.
He would be just killing them. And Mile High Till I Die, you of course would like to invest a 1st-round pick in every position, but at this point, you have to decide, is it worth investing that money and resources into a running back, or is it worth doing into the offensive line? That's why I think we kind of said 3rd or 4th round pick on a running back, is because then you'd use those higher picks in the capital and free agency to go for the offensive line. And this is kind of where you skimp out, because you can typically more so skimp out on the running back position than on the offensive line.
But again, 4th rounder, it's 50-50 guys just going to suck. So like if you go with the 4th rounder, like James Robinson's out there, Tony Pollard, Alexander Madison, Damian Harris, Devin Singletary, David Montgomery.
Tony Pollard would at least help bring some team speed.
Exactly.
He's
like any of those
paid,
guys.
right?
Exactly. Like there's so many good backs.
Paid at that position.
There's so many. Maybe you do. Maybe one of these guys does fall through the cracks because running backs don't get paid. And then there's like, what, you listed like 5 legit ones?
Yeah, I think there's 10 good backs.
There isn't really
10
a
starters.
Kenneth Walker, though, in the draft this year, which is kind of interesting. Like, who's the best running back in America?
Jarek Broussard declared. He almost had 300 yards, I think. But yeah, I mean,
almost had 300 yards in one. No, he did have 300 yards in one game at CU.
He did. He sure did. Miles Sanders is a free agent. Samaje Perine. Like, there's just a dozen startable backs. And if you want to go after Saquon, I could definitely get behind that. If you want to give $4 million to any one of those guys, I think that would make sense. Just eat carries, swing on a guy in the 4th, get Javonte back, buy Mike Boone, sadly, but it's easy to rebuild the running backs this year.
Okay, there you go. Nash Bronco says, hi, fellas. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. The injuries are not getting talked about enough. I know we've seen the team mostly healthy at the beginning of the year, but at this point, your healthy wide receivers are Kendall Hinton, Jalen Virgil, Brandon Johnson, and Montreux Washington. Everyone else has an injury. What the hell do we expect from Russ? I'm pretty convinced that he's not the problem. The offensive scheme and injuries are. The pod has been great lately, despite some objective, terrible football being played, but let's step back for a second. There has been bad football all over the league this year. What's happening? Have defenses sort of adjusted to modern schemes? It seems like any team can lose any week, #this league, and the product of the NFL just isn't as great as usual this year. Do you guys agree?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, scoring's been down this year for the average has certainly been down. No one, unfortunately, has been as bad as the Broncos. And Nash Bronco, I think you're giving a little too much leeway to Russ here. For the most part, he has had either Cortland Sutton or Jerry Jeudy for, I think, the entire season. Have they played a game without either of those two?
I think for everyone they've had one of them.
They've had one of them, so you do have to include one of those two guys in there.
If the Broncos had been fully healthy all season, I think they'd be 7-5 right now. No team is fully healthy though.
So then
take KJ out even, and I say 6-6.
So then why aren't you giving Nathaniel? And I'm not saying you aren't, but why aren't you giving Nathaniel Hackett that benefit of the doubt?
You gotta find a way still. Like, I think they would be that good with it, but still, like, without those guys, you have to find a way to not be 3-9. Like, I don't think
be more so 5-7 or something.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you should have at least 1 or 2 more wins. But yeah, I do think fully healthy, which again, like KJ, of course, was not going to be fully healthy all season. I do think they have a winning record right now.
Wow.
If you have Randy Gregory out there, Tim Patrick all season, the whole offensive line is probably gelling by now. Javonte, obviously. Javonte might get him to 500 himself.
I like the optimism.
It's possible. I also do think that if you're giving the injury excuse, you just also have to give it to Nathaniel Hackett, which I believe is fair. It's just like the other problems with Nathaniel Hackett are what's costing.
Yep. And again, with like average injury luck, 5-7. I think that's probably 2 wins difference.
I realize that maybe they wouldn't have been able to get in a better position anyway. But like the fact that Russell Wilson thought, like, as long as we get Brandon McManus a 63-yard field goal, we already did this one.
But like, it's just such a tough spot to be. It's like 1 second. What do we do? 63-yard field goal or throw a Hail Mary?
No, and that's not what I mean. But I just like the number should be 59.
Yeah, but that wasn't an option. You wound up with 63. But like he couldn't have run another yard.
Maybe he could have.
He couldn't though. We watched it. There was 1 second on the clock.
But to Ryan's point, in his mind, he was told, get to, the 45 so it can be a 63-yarder.
True.
Yeah. You have to get to the 40.
Just that thought process went on, and then he was 10 yards short.
Like, it could be he would have said, like, well, I can't run for it. I'll just chuck it to this guy, hope something good happens, and maybe you get there.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
crazy.
I still think field goal's better than Hail Mary there.
Next one is from Arvada Luke.
Neither
I'm reading
good.
it because I've spent the last 5 minutes trying to log into my damn account.
Ah.
Hello, guys. I would be so psyched if the Broncos showed up to my birthday. If half the Broncos showed up to my birthday party. Not sure what all the hubbub was about. If you could invite one athlete to your birthday, who would you pick?
Just ever? Probably Peyton Manning.
Okay.
I mean, not only Peyton, but he's also hilarious and a good time.
He would
and
be
he
a good
feels
time.
like he can party.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
He really does
That's
have
pretty
it
good
all.
package. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, he's probably easy number one. If we're saying like current Jokic, I feel like Jokic would have some good party vibes. Like you see him dancing shirtless and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
true.
he'd be a good
He'd keep
partier.
it light,
And,
too.
like,
Exactly. I'm staying away
Yeah.
from the hockey guys for that reason.
Yes.
So long as that he like it wants to be there.
True.
You know what I mean?
Right.
That is
We have to
true.
assume that like they're excited to be coming
Yes.
to our birthday.
Yes.
I would put Prime in there, but I'm pretty sure he doesn't drink, which doesn't preclude someone
interesting.
from
Sure.
not coming to my
Sure.
birthday party. But if I want to like
It does knock
have
you down
some
a peg.
drinks, I want this person to open up to me because they've had a few more drinks.
Especially if you're having drinks, you know, I would be too nervous around Prime. Not that
Yeah.
I like
scares
wouldn't
me.
be nervous around these other guys, but like I feel
Peyton's-
like if you say something not even wrong, but just that he doesn't like, he's gonna call you out.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Right. And like there's just a different standard of like
Yeah.
you're trying to be really cool around Prime.
right.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
That's crazy. By the way, some place put out a list today. It was like the top 25 and bottom 25 coaches with the most and least swagger
Yep.
in college football. Obviously, Prime's number one.
Obviously. There's no
Who do you think is
conversation.
number two, unless you saw my tweet already?
I did
did.
not. Do you agree with it or not?
I think you can make a case for it, but what I will say is that the gap between 1 and 2 is astronomical.
He did say that in his tweet as well.
Man, is it I can't go Kirby Smart.
No, it's
No,
not.
you cannot. No, you cannot. It is not Kirby. Kirby
okay.
is not his name is Kirby.
Yeah, I know.
Second
I have
swaggiest.
no idea. I can't think of like swag.
Number 2 is Lane Kiffin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
In a different
The
way.
difference
kind
in swagger
Yeah.
between
yeah.
Deion Sanders and
Yeah.
Lane Kiffin is
He's
like,
just a silly internet boy. who
Right, right.
Says like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
It's a very different swag.
he's a troll.
Yes.
Man, was he trolling a couple weeks ago too?
It's hilarious.
That was hardcore. I was like, at this point, he can't be going to Auburn at this point.
Yeah, he's kind of like the Elon Musk of football coaches. He
that's-
just like goes on and shit posts.
That's a
Yeah.
really good comparison. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. He goes and says, I think a lot of us have moved on to next season mentality. It's tough to predict what the ownership group will do, but my guess is they will really invest and revamp a lot. The Waltons are very active with the Arkansas football program, which I think is probably something that drove their interest in buying a professional team.
Makes sense.
I know college football can be dirty, but I don't think you can buy one of those. Well, you can. You can. Do you think that we see a big infrastructure build out or any adjustments of major personnel changes or even an announcement of new uniforms first? By the way, I think his name is T. Boone Pickens. He basically owns Oklahoma State football. Thank goodness for a little football redemption around here. Sco Buffs, cheers, AL.
Wait, before we talk about those questions, Arkansas football has the Waltons and Jerry Jones, and
Yep.
they're still Arkansas football? Like,
Wow.
what?
That's crazy.
Hard
Especially
when
with
you have
NIL now,
Alabama.
Yeah.
Like, NIL, how are they not able to do something now? Like, this year, I guess they were top 25 team, but, like, you got that money?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, Alabama has all that money too and the best coach.
Yeah, it's true.
Yep.
It's true.
All right. Do we see a big infrastructure build out or any announcements of major personnel changes or even new uniforms?
I think everything's moving slowly. I think, like, obvious. I think we all agree there's going to be a new stadium. We don't need to get into where that's going to be, but there's going to be a new stadium. There's going to be new uniforms. I think those are at least another year away too. I think just all of that stuff, like new practice facility, is possible, especially if they build a new stadium. But again, all these things are going to take time. In terms of like executives and that sort of stuff, I don't think anything big this offseason.
Yeah, I think it would be more so the football decisions that
Yep.
we're talking about now, because they've already done Damani Leach. They kind of brought in
Yeah.
a guy right under Damani Leach, a former CSU Ram, actually. They did that last week. So I think they're doing things on the business side.
Explains why the offense got worse.
Hey, they brought him in oh, well, it did get worse last week. That's fair. So, yeah, I think it's more so the football side of things. And then, yeah, man, we haven't thought about at least I haven't thought about a new stadium in a while. I've been football focused, which has been nice.
Yeah, I was actually thinking the other day, would they put the practice practice facility at the stadium?
Yeah.
My gut says yes, but they have put a ton of money into the existing one. Now the Waltons haven't, so maybe that changes things.
True.
But like I was talking to the Bears guys about this when I was in Chicago last week, and I was like, oh, well, when they move the stadium to Arlington Heights, they'll move the practice facility there too, right? And they're like, no, like they put a ton of money into Hallis Hall. They'll just keep it.
Yeah, because I assume that they would move with the stadium as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Yeah. I mean,
is it better or worse for us?
Being
about
out
the
there.
same, right?
I don't care.
Honestly.
Probably less traffic going towards the airport than there is towards South Denver.
Maybe.
Yeah. Thankfully, Broncos really don't do things during prime time driving hours, which is
True.
nice.
Or they don't play games during prime time either.
It's very true.
Not anymore.
They used to.
I will
Early
say,
2022.
I'm thinking more and more they're not moving the stadium.
Oh.
The more I think about it, the more I think they're rebuilding right there. Just when you hear like how they're trying to connect the Coors to Union Station to Pepsi Center, like it just makes sense to just build that out, which they're going to do, and just leave the stadium there. Like, and we'll see.
The Waltons would be throwing billions away if they did that.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think it'd go pretty well for them too.
It
wouldn't
would,
be bad.
just not as good
Right.
as
No.
Exactly.
creating a whole new city,
Yep,
Waltonville.
it's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
And I believe we got one more question coming in from Chicago Bronco 86. Says, this year's been absolutely awful without a doubt. Yet, call me crazy, but I think we bounce back in a big way next year between the draft, free agency, and trades. I think we managed to improve 2 offensive line spots and snag a playmaking receiver as well as another back to spell Javonte. If we can do that and get a good coach in, I personally believe Russ bounces back. His track record of good play is just too long for me to believe he can't be brought back to at least a decent quarterback. There is a chance the coach may need to level with him and maybe get a little more balanced approach going, but he's at the very least, an elite system quarterback in the right situation. This year is going to be painful the rest of the way. They're just too injured at this point to do much, but I'm going out on a limb and calling a wild card spot next year. In the meantime, thanks for providing at least some entertainment for the fans since we're not getting it on Sundays.
Happy to do it.
Yep.
And I like the optimism. And
Me
you
too.
know what? Knowing us, there's probably going to be some optimism in the offseason if the Broncos give us some optimism. And Ryan, I probably am more down on Russ for the future than you are. But you're right. Did Russ just all of a sudden go from like a top 10 quarterback to literally a bottom 3 quarterback in one season? He could have.
Yeah.
But likely not. And if he is a 100% system quarterback, then you know what you have to do? You have to give him that system. And that's okay because now you're committed to him. So now you got to do everything for him.
Yes, bring in his system. Like, these are the only ways I'm getting excited for next year. Bring in his system, make some like moves in that world, add offensive talent, add offensive line help, legitimate ones, not Menelik Watson. There has to be some big changes because this is not like, oh, tweak some things.
Right.
This is like you have to figure out a way to get from the worst offense, not just in football, but in the last few decades of football to average.
Yep.
I think it's possible, but big things need to be changed.
Exactly.
I mean, this was kind of dark. I also think he might just be over the hill. Like, he is 34, and he's a mobile quarterback, and he's within the range of when quarterbacks are going to start to go bad. Like, usually it's more like 36 and not 34, but how big of a difference really is that? I mean, Michael Vick retired when he was 35.
Yeah.
Like, and again, that's more similar to him than Eli Manning, who fell off the cliff when he was 36.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good point, Hank, and something we should probably dive into. I just think at least for me, Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers and even Peyton Manning have kind of ruined me being like, no, every quarterback now, especially ones that really take care of their body, like Russell Wilson, are going to play until they're 40 and be good until they're 38 at least. But you're right, there are a lot of other guys where it's like, no, they start falling off. 35.
But those are three of the best quarterbacks ever.
No, you're
like,
right.
Russ
So
is not
Russ-
that tier. No, he's not.
Best ever, but
Exactly.
he's the winningest ever.
Okay, he's not Caleb Williams.
Oh my god.
No, he's not Caleb Williams, that's for sure.
What's like the last quarterback to fall off at that age who was really good before? I'm thinking like Matthew Stafford, but also like there's a big injury involved there.
What about Ben Roethlisberger? I don't know exactly.
He was older. Well, I guess he couldn't have been
like
too
when
much
he
older.
started falling off.
He had to be because he came in Eli Manning's draft class.
Yep.
Wow.
Eli Manning could be one.
He was at
Yeah?
like 36, so he was bad.
Yeah.
Ben was bad at 36.
Eli was.
Oh, Eli.
No, he was still good. So Roethlisberger threw for 5,100 yards when he was 36,
Oh, okay.
and then
Never
afterward
mind.
was terrible.
Okay, so I mean
Yep.
36, so later than where Russ
Yep.
is now.
But again, like you're
Phillip
within
Rivers.
that range. He was older.
But he played well that late. Like,
Yeah.
it's not only the GOAT
He fell off
who
the
can
cliff.
pull
You're
this
right,
off.
you're right.
He fell off a cliff and then came back.
And then, did it. Yeah. So maybe that's the best case.
That is,
Yep.
yes.
Is that this is his down year to then bounce back next year?
Minor
this would just be
setback,
way
major
more of a down
comeback.
year. Yeah, exactly.
I would guess, and I think I said this earlier, but you're going to
Mm-hmm.
see like Russ make major changes in the offseason. Like, I think he's going to come back like ripped.
He should.
He's got to lose weight.
He's got all of the resources to do whatever he wants to his body.
I think he will. I think that'll be like a big training camp storyline. Russ has lost 15 pounds
yeah, you're probably
of
right.
fat and gained 15 pounds of muscle. Like,
Plug yourself in, baby.
yeah, exactly. Life electric.
Even like Cam Newton is a very different thing. But again,
Yeah.
like it's that mobile guy who needed the feet. But that's more
He
body
was like
breaking.
a power back.
Took a lot
Yeah.
of hits in a different way.
Yeah.
Russ was just getting hit like from behind.
Like, has there ever been a mobile quarterback who has lasted that long? Elway, yeah.
It's a good one.
Yeah,
Elway,
that's a good
yep.
one.
That
Shout
is a
out
good one.
Kale.
No,
the
that was
shadows.
Dre. That was Dre.
Dre. Sorry, Dre.
Sounded like Kale to me too.
Yeah, I did, and I can't see. We're looking at blinding lights on the
Oh,
other
there's
side
no
of here.
I can't see literally anything.
All I see is Allie's feet.
Got to pay for that.
Some nice. Wow. Okay, she's wearing shoes.
Wow.
Oh my God. All right.
I can't even
Are
say
we
anything
done?
else. Yes, we're done. We're done.
All right, let's wrap it up there. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. We will catch you tomorrow on the DNVR Broncos podcast.